Welcome to the show today. As you know, the purpose of this show is to establish a national dialogue between parents of special needs children and adults and looking for solutions, ideas to help with their future, and other professionals and parents who have actually made strides already, accomplishments in the world of socializing, residential living, and employment, and they want to share their ideas with you. So today's episode features two people. First of all, features my nephew, John, who
Hello.
Hi, honey, who is featured in the banner of the site, and he's also a contributor to the show. So, John will always give perspective from one who is there. But we also have Meshell R. Baker. Now, Meshell is not a parent of a special needs child, but she does have a relationship, nor is she a professional in the field. But this is how I want to open up the audience's possibilities because it's more than parents and professionals. We have a wide community of people who want to help and in their own way will establish contribution and dialogue. So, Meshell, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here.
All right,
Good
so
morning.
everybody knows John's my nephew, and John was the inspiration for this show. We'll get to you in a second, honey. But
Okay.
Meshell, what is your relationship to the world of special needs people?
My relationship is I have a sister, a younger sister who is special needs. She is when she was 7, she had sickle cell. She had strokes and grand mal seizures, which left her at the time blind and completely paralyzed on her left side. Through therapy and through the grace of God creator universe, whatever you want to call it, her vision returned. She was still legally blind. It didn't completely return, and she was able to get her mobility back through therapy. My mother, who was the single parent at that time, she invested in it. We lived in Oakland, California then. She went and found every avenue to support my sister's independence. And because of that, we didn't ever think of my sister as being disabled, right? Because we were raised in an environment where we were constantly taught to help her for herself, even if it meant letting her fall or struggle. We were taught to allow her to learn and to do things for herself. So as an adult, when her illness started to decline and there was need, she went from independently disabled to dependently disabled. It was a no-brainer for me to step in and support her. I had seen her do so many amazing things that, she wouldn't have otherwise done had it not been for my parents, my mother, supporting her to independence, that I was just like, it was a welcome to be there for her.
Meshell, did her independence take her out of the house in a living
Oh God,
situation?
yes. Her independence went from her being at home, and she rode the bus to school, the special bus, and she was in her classes. So she went from home to being in a like group home situation where they taught them to do laundry and to count, like they learn all of these things. And once she graduated from the dorm situation, she went into a complex where there were roommates. So she had a roommate. And then when she graduated from there, she went to her own place. So it was this program that as long as she moved through it, and this is years ago in California. But yeah, she always advanced, and did well and ended up having her own place for years.
And she is deceased now?
No, she's across the
She's
hall. We live together. I'm her living aide. She's across
Sorry
the
about
hall.
that. Sorry, we don't want to bury people before it's their time, do we?
Okay. She would crack up too. She'd be like, "No, I'm here."
What is her first name?
Daphne.
Daphne. Sorry, Daphne. Didn't want you pushing daisies before your time. I want to switch over to John for a second because Meshell brought up so many great points about education, training, and the family supporting the independence of the person, which we define with special needs. Can we talk about you a second, though? How do you feel your family has been, or maybe has not been supportive of you?
Me?
Yes.
Um, I guess my mom's been very supportive, and like I think that she gave me an opportunity to like see what it's like to be by myself and things like that. It's a little challenging, but it's something to get used to, you
Okay.
know.
Okay. Now, just for everybody to know, I've been very close with my sister and John our entire lives. Even though we don't live in the same city, it doesn't matter. We talk all the time and very involved. And I have to say that family members react differently. I think my sister's been great. I think she's done everything she can possibly do and think of to support John. And my mother, when my mother was living, got very involved and wanted to dig into the reading and the math, which are John's challenges, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Yeah. Um, but as life goes on, we have different needs, and we're going to get to that in a second because John kind of gave us a hint at something new that's transpired in his life, and I'm going to get back to that in a second, John. So
Okay.
I want to go to you again, Meshell. So, um, how do you see what is needed to improve the life, the independent life, if possible, with special needs people?
I would say awareness and education. There's a lot of assumptions made um, around people with disabilities because every individual is different, right? Every person with a disability has a different set of skills that they can do and a set of skills that they can't do. But the same is true for regular people, right? So it's so interesting that we make these assumptions about them. I meet some regular adults who, y'all, the way you behaving is a bit disabled, right? And I see that a lot of times when given the opportunity, the people that we have decided, society has decided is disabled, can do a lot more given the opportunity and want to do a lot more. They want, right? So I really believe the awareness and the education. Um, so yeah, and that's where I see what I'm hearing from you all is that you guys did a dive. Like my mother was relentless. She did not take no. She like if you didn't know who was in that, like one of the questions I've always learned from her is if somebody tells me they can't, well, I totally understand that. Can you point me in the direction of someone who might be able to? Who would you recommend? Where would you recommend I call next? Where would you recommend I go next? What department would you think would be helpful in me trying to uncover this? So she was relentless. No was never a no.
Yes, yes. John, now from somebody who lives the life of what we call special needs, and I
Uh-huh.
call special people, and I love
Yeah.
that special. We've turned that word around a little bit. What would you like the world to know in terms of dealing with you and your community?
Um, I think they should treat us like normal people. Just because we can't do certain things doesn't mean that, that we're uh what's the word? Not able to. It's just we just have challenges like in certain areas. But if you give us an opportunity and a chance, we can actually explore, do better than, a
And we
lot.
even think.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just underscore a point because I was blown away with you and when you made this giant milestone step forward. It was some years ago. I've actually lost track of time, but I remember having a conversation with you on the phone where your vocabulary was beyond belief. You were using words correctly that I never expected you to use. And I said to you, John, I mean, I've always loved talking to you, no problem. We communicate well, we love music, and we love shopping. So
You
we
love
have,
shopping.
right?
Yes.
But I asked you, I said, how did you come to learn all these vocabulary words that are very advanced and you're using them correctly? And do you remember what you said to me?
I do remember because I'm a big Tupac fan, so I used to watch all his interviews and I would put the caption on and I would learn the word that he was saying and then I would repeat the word that he said to to understand what he meant by what he was talking about and stuff. Yep. That's how I learned those big words and stuff like that.
Michelle, pretty impressive, don't you think?
Yes, very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said one other thing to me, John, which still sticks with the point about, how we treat people that we call special needs, and that
Mhm.
is you just said, just talk to us.
Yeah.
Don't be
Just talk.
afraid.
Yeah. Like don't be afraid of just because we can't um understand what you're saying. It's not something like, you know, we we want people to acknowledge that we're around. Like it's okay to be afraid if you don't know something, but if you don't try it and you don't experience somebody with special needs, then don't just say, okay, he doesn't know he doesn't know what he's talking about or something like that. You just give us a chance and we can prove to you that we can do it, things like that.
Couldn't agree more. And I want to conclude this point with one example that I think happens in every single family, not just ours. And that is there'll be a larger family gathering. And everybody gets in their little groups and pods and catches up. I haven't seen so and so in a while and all of this. And they take off on these tangents and conversations about some things that, for instance, you, John, might not experience, different areas of work and career, stuff like that. Or maybe some things you're not even interested in. And what happens is you get ignored. You kind of get pushed to the outskirts of the social gathering. And then you go with your phone, your iPod, whatever, and you're no longer part of the group.
Mm-mm.
And I think it's important for everybody to know when you're in your larger family gatherings, gather everybody together. Michelle, your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I agree that it's important to, give everybody a chance to communicate. And I would say that that is the dynamics of many family gatherings, as there's often only a few people sucking up all the oxygen, right? So, so though, I mean, that is just the normal. I mean, I've been to many family gatherings at many different people's homes, and it's just amazing to watch the dynamics that there's often just a few who are just eating up need all the attention, because it's the dynamics of being human. And humans by nature are, uncomfortable and insecure by nature. That's the one component. So I would say for you, John, your voice. Sometimes I've learned just keep repeating things until someone acknowledges it.
Yeah.
That willingness to or ask a question. So if they didn't hear me when I said it as a statement, I may change it to a question, because it's interesting. If I say a statement, sometimes it'll get ignored. However, when I switch that same statement to a question, it often gets answered.
Yes.
That's interesting, Michelle. I like that as a conversation tactic. That's really good. Um, your sister, Daphne, when she was in larger family groups, did people include her?
Yes,
Or,
always. You can't avoid her. She's not one of those quiet people. She's not quiet ever.
John, you need to be more vocal then. Let's take a cue
Okay.
from Michelle's sister, and you're
Yeah,
just
I
going to
need to
be
be more
talking it
vocal
up.
there. Yeah.
Don't stop talking. Keep
You're
talking.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So it's interesting because her boyfriend he is blind, completely blind, and he has cognitive, some cognitive challenges, and so he's quiet where she is boisterous, right?
Yeah.
So thank heavens she's the placeholder in a social group for both of them then.
Yes.
All right. So now, Meshell, the reason why we're talking and doing this episode is because when I was in a previous conversation with you about a different topic, you expressed a vision that you had that you would like to do to contribute to the special needs community. And I would like you to share that with everybody.
Yes. Well, I was just thinking about the way we do housing. So I think one of the examples you gave is like, retired, or I can't even think of what's the correct term for when people are moving to housing and they're older, right?
Oh, it's called
I
hang
can't think
on.
of the correct term all of a sudden. And yeah, so it'll probably pop up
Nor
as a
can I. All right. Well, nor can I think
yeah, all
of
of a
the
sudden it
correct
just
term.
yeah, but just thinking about how to unite and create a space where there are people who want, like myself, who actually love being in a space with my sister. So I'm not the only person who wants to be there with their child, their sibling, their whatever, and the person is technically, disabled, or, of that, right? And
Yeah.
how we can create a housing where everybody's together, but somehow it funds itself, right? That we're together,
Yeah.
and the people who even, like, because I know I've actually, as a speaker, I've spoken for organizations who um, they actually employ disabled people from their community, right? For packaging or different things like that. So I'm like, how do you do that? How do you create a space where there's not just they're employed, so they pick them up, or the people get there on their own, but they live there, right? So the business that, whatever the business is on the same, is in the same facility as the place where the people live, right? And I was thinking, like, some of the empty VA housing, because they have space for people who have health needs, right? And,
Mhm.
there's like
Yeah.
nursing facility, right? There's places for people to eat and cook, right? So I'm just like, I have a vision, and it's not 100% clear. It's just that I believe that there's a way to do this where it can fund itself. So the support of government is not as heavily needed.
Yes.
Yes, and with government funding and support, there are challenges there
Right.
too.
Always, right? They're
Yeah,
always cutting
yeah,
back. They're always, I think about the aides who work with my sister, the rate of pay that they get from most states is just, abysmal, right? It's lower than minimum wage. So
Yeah.
finding people that stay is the most difficult thing. They'll come for a couple of months, a couple of days, right? And then they leave. And then you got to go through the process again. So luckily for me, I do most of my work, from here, so that, but then that, when somebody doesn't show up, then my day gets shifted to help my sister get dressed and feed her, because, her disability has gotten, over time, she
yeah.
requires more assistance as she's gotten older. So
John, what's your experience with aids provided by county services?
What she just said is like I think is the most important because that happens to me all the time. Like say like I have a caseworker, okay? And the caseworker with these different programs that they have,
Yeah.
they can't get people to help, or they pay them so low that they just quit, and you got to do the same thing over and over and over again, and it gets very frustrating because it should be a lot better, and I think it should be a lot efficient because a lot of people should start doing more for people who with special needs, like like the businesses and all that other stuff. They should do a lot better, in my opinion.
Yes, and I've observed this happening. And so, we've gone from just taking what's available, which is government funded things, which really don't work, to something that I shared with both of you. And we're going to have people from this facility on the show as well, but Brookwood
Yeah.
Community outside of Houston, Texas. Now, Meshell is from around the Dallas area, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Michelle's from the Dallas area, John's in Pittsburgh,
Yes.
and I'm in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So we're representing the triangle in the country. But this place, Brookwood, it's kind of what you described, Michelle. It is 465 acres, beautiful. Michelle's seen the video. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Where it is an entire town, so to speak, self-funded. And we're going to have them on to talk about it and open to be replicated. So there are homes there that people live in. There's an enormous dining hall who I now have been told a Four Seasons chef is the chef. I'm like, I'm there. I love food. I'm there. And they work. They earn money. And not only services on the property, but they sell things. And they want to teach people how to do what they do. So, Michelle, you really can run a facility and they teach you how to get funded. And so I was so jazzed when I heard you say that, which had nothing to do with why we were originally meeting. Michelle is a confidence coach. If you can't tell, she's a very positive minded person. And she has your Monday inspirations, Michelle, are great. I just listened to the other one yesterday. I've listened to both now. You put me on your email 2 weeks in a row. Very helpful. And so I know that you, with your confidence, your spirit, and your relationship to the field now through your sister, I think you can be amazing at fulfilling your dream. Yeah, I feel you're amazing.
Oh, this is amazing. This is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we can. I mean, with all the stuff that we do that's important, I don't know of anything more important than helping people who will be so grateful that we care and that we want to help and that we raise them up. Because, John,
Yes.
let's talk about where you're at right now.
I'm
You
at.
are in your own apartment.
Yes.
Years and years ago, you were talking about moving out of Jerry's house, my sister, your
Yeah.
mother.
Yes.
But it only got really serious a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then, so the process was you had to go on a list,
Yeah. You have to
government
go on a
housing.
waiting. Yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
have to go on a list and you have to wait like 2 years or more than 2 years sometimes to see if they can find you a place. And then I think when you were visiting, that's when I got that call from the housing authority
Last Thanksgiving.
down here. Yeah, that was Thanksgiving. Yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
very excited. And then both your mother and you, well, definitely your mother, went
Yeah.
into giant fear mode.
Yeah.
The reality of not having you with her where she could protect you and nurture you and
Yeah.
yell at you, of course, but
Oh,
but she's
every
your
every
mother.
mom does that, Angie.
That's right. That's right. And so she's going to come on and talk about what that experience
Yeah.
was like when it became real. When you, but now you're 15 miles away, so it's not like you're in another state.
Right. Yeah.
You're accessible, but you both had to get used to being alone. Neither of you had ever really lived alone.
Uh, I'm still getting used to it, honestly.
What's it feel like?
It feels like weird. Like it feels like, I'm not used to like being in an apartment building and there's a lot of noise. I'm used to being out in the country where like there's no noise and things like that. But when you live in an apartment, there's people like upstairs, downstairs. You hear all kinds of um noises, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, that's the garbage truck, or that's just something, or
Neighbors.
neighbors like that. But yeah, it's kind of different. But I'm
Were
getting
you
used
ever
to it.
scared?
No,
Was there a point where you were scared?
no, no.
Michelle, John said something to me one day, like within the last month, because we've been talking and I think it's 3 weeks ago that you moved in.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Yeah,
And right before you moved out, I said, so are you really ready? Have you thought about everything? You said, yeah, I really, really am. And you said, I'm just ready to be me, to live
yeah.
like me.
hmm Yeah, that's what I said. Yes, because I'm ready. I'm ready to be like person that pays bills and like and stuff like that. And like I really like just being independent and finding, new things and new places and things like that. But it like at first I was kind of like, do I really want to? And then I decided, yeah, I think I do. Because I want to be an actual adult and not a kid, like, like, because, you know, things like that nature.
A lot of respect there. Michelle, what do you think?
I think that's amazing, right? I'm glad you were able to, live out your dreams and desires. Many
Yeah.
people don't get a chance to do that. So I'm proud of you for sticking with it and for finding a way and making it happen. Right? It
Right.
wouldn't have happened if you wouldn't have voiced it. You could have just said, stay quiet and been okay with the way things were, even though you weren't necessarily happy, but you actually
Yeah.
and you went for it. So that's why you are
Yes.
where you are.
Yes.
Well, let me say one other thing about that. John had a really cool job at the VFW. Um, they needed somebody in the kitchen, but what I saw happen is, and we're going to talk about this more in other episodes, the employer, the people that ran the VFW were very open to supporting you and
hmm
allowing you to advance from the kitchen to waiting on tables.
Yep.
Was it Nicole who put
Yeah,
a laminate?
Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nicole laminated this menu and it was a picture menu. So the people, like if they ordered something, it's like a game. You match the picture or circle the picture, and then Nicole would put it in the computer, like a certain like, and that's how I learned how to do that. Um, and she came up with her and her husband came up with the idea because I couldn't write anything down. And so they said, would that be okay if we tried this method? Would you be okay with that? And I said, yeah, anything to help somebody who has special needs, I'm willing to give it a shot. And so I tried it and it worked really good. It's like, and they enjoy having a picture menu instead of, when you go to restaurants and they have words and they rather have pictures so they see what's on the menu and stuff like that. So that was Nicole's and uh her husband's idea too. And they
Hey,
were very supportive.
I appreciate when there's a picture of the food myself,
Yeah, because you're like,
honestly. Yeah, because you're trying to guess most of the time. Well, what is it going to look like? Or, right? Or, yeah.
yeah,
It,
yeah, it was kind of cool how
it, it,
she did it.
it really speaks to the interest these people had in changing the way they conducted business to
Yeah.
accommodate John. I mean, these are saints. These are
Yeah.
wonderful human beings. Um, Meshell, I want to end with on when it was time for your sister to move out, was there fear? What was that like? Do you remember?
I wasn't actually still in California. At that point, I was at Howard University in Washington, D.C. I couldn't tell you. My mother is has a strong religious faith. And even if she is fearful, she's one of those people that will get on a prayer line and she will figure out how to get rid of that fear. Because her greater fear was to have a child who did not live a full life.
Mm.
So the fear of my sister not having a getting to experience what you're now experiencing, John, the independence, the freedom,
Hmm.
to live her life, that trumped any fear of, yeah, because that was
Yeah.
what she was more scared of than anything. She talked about that. She wanted my sister to be able to do like me and my brother, leave home.
Yeah.
Wow, the fear that her daughter would not live a full life was greater than the fear of releasing her daughter
Yeah.
from inside of her own home.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so important for people to know that you have to upgrade the way you look
Yeah.
at special needs people in your life. And you have to realize that they can do far more than we give them credit for. John, I want to end with you making a comment about this.
Okay. I I agree with, like, we can make a difference and we strive and trying to be a good individual people, and we want to just be accepted. And I think in a lot of ways that we always want to succeed in life and not fail, I guess, and things like that.
Normal. We
Yeah.
all want to succeed in life and not fail. And I don't think we look at special needs people like that, having that same desire.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Um,
so I'm
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no. I think, yeah, because a lot of people just like go, oh, he can't read or he can't do this, but then you really get to know the person. He can we can do things that they can't do. Like they can't, like, like they don't have the ability to remember things, or use big words or things like that. They
Yeah.
just think, oh, that's because he has special needs, then he's just stupid. Or not stupid, but like, like he
No, I
can't.
actually do think people think that.
Yeah.
And I don't think they understand it. I think it's a hidden bias that they may not even understand that they have. Michelle, what do you think about that?
Yeah, we go and we look at the whole defunking of DEI, for example, and that was what it was. Nature was for everybody, for it included people with disabilities, right? It was the inclusion of people who were otherwise disregarded because at the first glance they were thought to be someone who was not capable or someone who was incompetent. And I agree with what you're saying, that those assumptions are not right. And that's a learned behavior, right? It's you learn to make the assumptions so you can unlearn it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why I said awareness and education. Being aware that it's what you're thinking is not real, and then educating yourself on how, right?
Right.
Yes. Yes. And that is what I wanted this particular show to do is really open up a dialogue between everybody who's related to somebody with special needs I wanted to bring people on living that life like John so that they can share with us what's going on internally with them and how we can all serve them better because the rewards are huge when we get to serve the needs of anybody. And I just can't think of a better life than that. So, as we progress on this show, Meshell, you will come back, will you not?
Absolutely. It will be my delight and pleasure.
And John, you are with us for the
Yes.
long haul.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm really happy that I had both of you together today so that we can start opening the eyes of everybody that this isn't that hard. It's
No.
actually easier than we think, right? And the benefits are amazing.
Yes.
So thank you both for joining. And thank all of you for listening. Every Wednesday, we are here and we will delve into every aspect of providing a wonderful life for special needs people in our lives. And we're going to give voice to people like John who can educate us better than anybody.
Yeah.
So thank you all. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next Wednesday.